Hello, Barcelona family. Feel free to like and subscribe to the channel to stay updated on everything about Barcelona. In this video, we have 3 very important pieces of news concerning our beloved club. Let's start with the first one. Ansu Fati is very close to saying goodbye to the club that saw him grow, that trained him from childhood, and that propelled him into the elite of world football at just 16 years old. Not so long ago, his name was spoken with enthusiasm in every corner of Barcelona's fan base. He was talked about as the natural heir to Messi, as the brightest jewel of La Masia in recent years, as the face of the future of Barcelona. However, reality has been harsher than any fan would have wanted to accept. Today, his departure is not just probable, it is desired by many within the club and necessary for the player himself. The latest information published by Todo Fichajes indicates that Sevilla has emerged as the main contender to secure the services of the forward. The Andalusian club has quickly made its move, aware that this is a unique opportunity to strengthen its squad with a young footballer who has experience in big scenarios and, above all, with immense motivation to reaffirm himself at Nervión. They believe they can be the springboard. Ansu needs to feel like a footballer again. From Barcelona, the message is clear. Ansu Fati does not fit into any Flick's plans. The new German coach has evaluated the player, observed him, reviewed his last phase, and concluded that he does not fit into his immediate plans. The club, for its part, has decided to support the coach in his planning, and this implies making tough decisions. Ansu's departure is one of them. But it should not be understood as a punishment or betrayal, but as an act of sporting and emotional coherence. Because in elite football, talent is not enough. Regularity, physical condition, attitude, tactical intelligence, and, above all, availability are also necessary. Ansu has gone through a calvary of injuries since that fateful meniscus rupture that marked a before and after in his career. Since then, neither his body nor his football have been the same. The club has been patient, generous, and even bold in giving him the number 10 after Messi's departure, but promises do not hold up over time if they are not translated into performances on the field. Sevilla, for its part, offers everything Ansu needs at this stage of his career. A competitive but less media-demanding environment than Camp Nou, a team in reconstruction that needs an offensive leader, and fans who know how to support their own when they see commitment. Additionally, the Hispalis sporting management has experience in managing this type of transfers. Players who, for various reasons, have stagnated in other clubs and find in Nervión the perfect place to rediscover themselves. Whether through a loan with an option to buy or a permanent transfer, the move seems imminent, and from a Barcelona perspective, there is no reason to oppose it. On the contrary, it is a step forward for everyone. The Catalan club can free up salary space, something fundamental in its current economic situation. It can also open up space for young talents who are pushing hard, like LAMINE, Fermín López, or even Vitor Roque. And above all, it can stop living anchored to a hope that increasingly resembles a mirage. Ansu needs to play, to have minutes, confidence, mistakes, successes, rhythm, continuity. He needs to feel important, to look at the bench and know he will be the first to come on, not the last. He needs to be a protagonist, and today, he cannot find that in Barcelona. His loan to Brighton was a brave but unsuccessful attempt. Injuries, adaptation to English football, and constant rotation condemned him to ostracism. Today, his entourage believes that La Liga is the most suitable environment to regain sensations, and Sevilla represents this golden opportunity. Other clubs have shown interest, such as Real Sociedad or Girona, but more passively. Real Sociedad, always meticulous in its planning, is focused on other priorities. Girona, on the other hand, is watching from afar but does not seem willing to enter a direct bidding war. Sevilla, however, has already gotten to work, wants Ansu, needs him, and has made it known to him, and this is a very powerful signal for any footballer seeking to believe in himself again. It is time to take stock. What has Ansu Fati been for Barcelona? He has been a symbol of hope in difficult times. He has been the child who made us forget, if only for a moment, Messi's departure. He has been the academy youth who awakened passions, filled headlines, broken precocity records, and made us believe in miracles. But he has also been, unintentionally, a mirror of what happens when expectations exceed reality. Pressure, injuries, comparisons, the weight of the number 10. All of this has dragged him down too soon. That is why letting him go should not hurt. On the contrary, it should bring relief, for him, for the club, for the fans. This separation can be temporary or definitive. Time will tell. But what is clear is that it is currently the best thing that can happen. Because Ansu Fati still has a lot of football to offer, but he needs to do it in a place where he does not carry invisible burdens, a place where mistakes are not a condemnation, and where the memory of what he was does not weigh more than his present. And this is where, dear Kules, reflection becomes necessary. What do you think? Is this the right decision, or do you think the club should give him one last chance? The opinion of the fans is always diverse, and it is normal that some feel sadness or nostalgia at this possible departure. But we must look to the future with realism. Barcelona is in a process of renewal with Hansi Flick at the helm. An era of tactical demand, physical intensity, and maximum competitiveness is opening, and on this roadmap, there is no room for sentimentality. Ansu Fati will always be remembered with affection. Whatever happens, wherever he plays, he will carry the Blaugrana colors in his heart. But his story here, at least for now, needs a pause. A pause that allows him to rewrite his own narrative with less pressure and more freedom. A pause that allows Barcelona to continue growing without emotional ties that harm its evolution as a team. And if, in the future, their paths cross again, let it be with a renewed Ansu, mature, strong, ready to wear the shirt he has already dreamed of again. For now, we wish him the best, because when an academy youth triumphs, even far from Camp Nou, it is also a victory for Barcelona fans. So, Barcelona fans, what do you think? Is it time to say goodbye with gratitude and hope, or do you think Barcelona should have been more patient? The debate is open, and every opinion counts in this new chapter that we are about to write together. The second piece of news concerns an important decision within the club. Barcelona is going through a moment of transition in its recent history. After several years of sporting highs and lows and economic complexities, the club has entered a phase of structural and sporting reconfiguration that requires making brave decisions. Among these decisions, the one that has attracted the most attention is the determination to part ways with Ferran Torres. A decision that, far from surprising a large part of the Barcelona fans, has been understood as a sign of maturity, long-term planning, and, above all, common sense. Ferran's departure represents much more than a simple market operation. It symbolizes the beginning of an era where bets must be fully justified by performance, projection, and adaptation to the model that coach Hansi Flick wants to implement. And while it is true that the history of football is filled with players who needed time to adapt and ultimately triumphed, it is also true that not everyone finds their place. In Ferran's case, the feeling is that he never really found it. When he arrived at the club, he was surrounded by expectations. His youth, his past in English football, and his international projection seemed to be ideal ingredients for him to become an important piece of the team. However, time has diluted this initial illusion. Although he was given opportunities, important minutes, and attempts were made to reposition him in different offensive positions, his influence on the game and the team's results has been far below what was expected. Barcelona, as an institution, cannot afford to keep footballers in its squad who do not make a difference, regardless of their attitude or professionalism. The demand in a club of this stature is maximum. It is not just about being diligent or correct. Players are expected to stand out, set the tone, and push the team forward in difficult moments. When this does not happen, despite all the affection or respect one may have for the player, it is better to take separate paths. Because, ultimately, football is also a matter of resource management, planning, and efficiency. From an economic point of view, keeping Ferran implies assuming a considerable cost, and considering that his performances have not been differential, his permanence becomes a burden. On the other hand, opening the exit door for him can be a strategic opportunity to free up salary mass, obtain income through a sale, or use his name in an operation that benefits the team in other more necessary positions. All of this makes even more sense if we consider the sustainability policy that the club has established as a priority in recent years. It is not about despising the player or judging him harshly. On the contrary, Ferran has shown to be a serious professional, with a positive attitude and without generating internal conflicts. However, professionalism alone is not enough in an environment like Barcelona's. Here, the demand goes much further. Every player who wears the Blaugrana shirt is expected to do so with a level of excellence in line with the club's history. If this excellence is not achieved, sporting and economic logic points in one direction. It is necessary to remember that in the club's history, many footballers have passed through without being bad players but without managing to leave their mark. And this does not mean they are despised. They simply were not what the team needed at that moment. The relationship between the player and the club can also be a matter of context, system, and mentality. Ferran has not been the first case and will not be the last, and there is no drama in recognizing it. The important thing is to know when to end one stage and start another. At the same time, discreet work is underway to find an outcome that benefits both parties. Because although Ferran's cycle at Barcelona seems to have ended, this does not mean he cannot have success in another team, in another environment, with other responsibilities and demands. The figure of the new coach, Hansi Flick, also weighs significantly in this decision. The German coach arrived at the club with a very clear idea of what he wants to implement: dynamic football, high intensity, with quick transitions and organized pressure. In this scheme, there is no room for players who do not fully adapt to his vision. And although Ferran has tried to integrate and offer different versions of himself, the technical evaluation has not been positive. The question is clear: a team that remains stagnant in past decisions, or a team that dares to renew its squad with criteria and courage? The answer for many is clear, which is why this decision should not be seen as a loss but as an opportunity. An opportunity to reconfigure the team with players who truly add value, who raise the collective level, who meet the demand imposed by wearing the Barcelona shirt. An opportunity to use the available resources more efficiently and bet on players who can make a difference from the first minute. The Barcelona fans have shown throughout history that they are intelligent, critical, and passionate, and they will surely understand that, in this phase of reconstruction, not all players can have their place. Some simply have not found their place, and it is time to let them go with respect and gratitude. Ferran, with all he has given, deserves these dignified farewells, but he also deserves to be told clearly that the club needs other things at this stage. It is worth opening the debate. What do the Barcelona fans think about Ferran Torres' departure? Do they think he could still offer something different if given more time, or do they consider his time is up and it is better to look to the future? These types of discussions are healthy and part of the DNA of Barcelona fans, who have always been actively involved in the club's destiny. In the end, the goal is common: to see Barcelona compete for all titles, respected in Europe, playing attractive and effective football, and surrounded by players who proudly wear the shirt. To achieve this, the decisions made today are fundamental, and if one of these decisions is to say goodbye to Ferran Torres, then so be it, with maturity, with gratitude, and, above all, with the certainty that it is what is best for the club's future. Because no name, no matter how likable, can be above the institutional sporting project. The reconstruction continues, the new cycle advances, and Barcelona, with its eyes fixed on tomorrow, begins to make the decisions that will mark its destiny in the coming years. The third piece of news concerns a major masterstroke for Barcelona. Barcelona has made a significant move in the transfer market, demonstrating once again that it is ready to make big bets to strengthen its squad with young, competitive, and glory-hungry talents. According to prestigious English media outlets like The Guardian, Sky Sports, Daily Mail, and The Times, Chelsea has accepted the offer from the Blaugrana club to secure the services of the 23-year-old Ecuadorian midfielder Moises Caicedo. This is a strategic move, meticulously designed by the sporting management and fully supported by Hansi Flick, the current coach of Barcelona, who has been a key player in advancing the negotiations. Caicedo, who arrived at Chelsea as one of the most expensive transfers in the history of the London club, has not managed to fully establish himself at Stamford Bridge, despite flashes of his great quality. However, it is believed that he has the ideal context to exploit all his abilities at Barcelona and become one of the great figures of European midfield. The agreement includes a 6-season contract, demonstrating the full confidence placed in the player and the forward-looking vision that prevails in the new sporting project led by Flick. The German coach, since his arrival, has insisted on the need to strengthen the midfield with intense and dynamic players, capable of keeping up with the pace of big matches. He has placed the name of Moises Caicedo at the top of his priority list. For Flick, the Ecuadorian embodies the profile that combines physical strength with tactical intelligence, aggression with order, and deployment with linking ability. In short, a player who not only fits into the coach's football idea but can also immediately raise the level of the team. The imminent departure of Frenkie de Jong, whose contractual and sporting situation has been a subject of reflection within the club, has forced the sporting management to act with agility. The Dutchman has not reached the expected consistency, and everything indicates that his time as a Blaugrana will come to an end at the end of the season. In this scenario, Caicedo's transfer appears not only as an alternative but as a natural evolution of the position, bringing different characteristics that could completely revitalize the team's structure. Barcelona's interest in Caicedo is not new. Since his breakthrough at Brighton, the young Ecuadorian has attracted attention for his tactical maturity, sense of positioning, recovery ability, and tireless physical deployment. At just 20 years old, he was already dominating matches in the Premier League with an authority uncommon for his age. In England, he was quickly compared to some of the best midfielders in the world, and his transfer to Chelsea seemed to confirm that he was destined for great things. However, Caicedo's entourage and the player himself have always looked with admiration at Barcelona's project. On several occasions, it has been mentioned that the Ecuadorian dreams of playing in Spain and doing so in a club with as much history, mystique, and international projection as Barcelona represents a definitive leap in his career. His entourage has expressed enthusiasm for this possibility, is closely following the decisions made from Barcelona, and is ready to take on the challenge with professionalism and ambition. One of the keys to the operation has been the possibility of including Alejandro Balde as partial exchange currency. The young full-back, who broke through strongly in the elite a few seasons ago, has not managed to establish himself as expected due to physical problems and lack of continuity. His departure would free up salary space and help balance the operation financially. Chelsea is positively evaluating his incorporation, as they consider that he has room for improvement and could become an important piece in their defensive renovation. This type of operation, which combines player exchanges and economic payment, represents a smart formula in a context where financial control is increasingly strict. Barcelona, which has learned from past mistakes, is betting on sustainable transfers that can generate both sporting and economic returns. Moises Caicedo meets all the conditions. He is young, already has experience in the elite, has a competitive mentality, and can play several years at the highest level. From a tactical point of view, Caicedo's arrival would allow any Flick to work with a solid midfield base. His ability to play as a defensive midfielder gives the coach the freedom to use more ambitious systems without losing balance in high-level matches, where spaces are reduced and the margin for error is minimal. Having a player like Caicedo is a luxury. His ability to read the game, anticipate, his strength in individual duels, and his physical resistance are key tools for controlling the pace of the match. Added to this is a growing ability to distribute the ball with criteria, without overcomplicating things, but without giving up the vertical pass that breaks lines either. The Barcelona fans, who have always known how to appreciate talented and hard-working midfielders, can find in Caicedo a new hero. He is not a player who seeks unnecessary protagonism or scorns invisible work. On the contrary, he is a humble and dedicated footballer who puts the team above personal recognition. This profile has historically been highly appreciated by the Blaugrana fans, who recognize and applaud commitment and effort. We cannot forget that modern football demands midfielders with total preparation. It is no longer enough to have a good foot. Strength, resistance, tactical reading, aggression, and a winning mentality are required. Caicedo represents this new generation of complete midfielders who can dominate all phases of the game, and doing so with a Blaugrana shirt can be the definitive boost to make him a world reference in his position. The arrival of Moises Caicedo can mark a before and after in the construction of the new Barcelona. And now, let's open the debate. What do the Barcelona fans think about the transfer of Moises Caicedo? Do they think he is the ideal player to lead the midfield in this new phase? Do they see his arrival positively, even if it implies the departure of a young academy player like Balde? Do they trust the Ecuadorian to be that dominant midfielder the club has been searching for so long? Opinions may vary, but what cannot be denied is that this move has all the ingredients to be one of the great successes of the summer. Moises Caicedo is ready to make the leap, and Barcelona, with Flick at the helm, is ready to open the door to a new era. Let the excitement begin. Leave us your opinion in the comments.